Let's do it, ladies and gentlemen. Now, hello and welcome to the Chef Salty Pork Podcast with your hosts Casey and Sean. We're your weekly home for culinary news, insights, text musings, and everything in between.
That's right. You can also catch us recording and streaming on YouTube at Chef Salty Pork Podcast. Please like, comment, and subscribe to get up-to-date notifications of when we are broadcasting live.
Like right now. We are live. NVIDIA is not being Skypey anymore.
It's actually working a little too well.
Yeah. They rolled out some crazy, I was reading the patch notes. Is it patch notes still? Or considered just updates?
Yeah,
right?
feature updates, patch notes.
Yeah. And they've even, I think they've put like water sounds too. Like they've finally omitted some of that. Like it's insane how crazy some of these changes are and taking place quickly. As you can tell right now, like we mentioned, we are live. So Sean and I are on the screen, but if you actually look on our physical screens, there's like a little blur thing going on. That is all done by AI, ladies and gentlemen. It's tracking we don't have fancy cameras. It's just, it's doing its thing, and it looks real.
Yeah.
Like for real. It's
getting significantly better than where the software was, even this time last year.
Yeah.
But, I'm sure, having to adjust to a COVID world and the demands that all these people, myself included, kind of work from home and have to, be on. Oh, there goes my other computer. Be on camera for, you're going to want software that's really good at, personalizing your space or,
correct.
decluttering your space, focusing in on what you need to be focused on, like your face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Adjusting for low light conditions and the general unprofessional setup that most people have, in their actual day-to-day life. So kudos to NVIDIA for rolling out this software, which started out as a bit of a beta into some easy to use, fully fleshed out tools, man. We definitely use it every week. But
every episode, I use it quite a bit.
My main work computer was a Windows machine, or this Windows machine as opposed to a Mac, I definitely would be using this software every day for work.
Currently, so I know we're talking about NVIDIA, but it's only available right now for not PC users, but anyone that has an NVIDIA card. Like they finally released it to all NVIDIA cards, even from past ones. I think from like a 300 series, all the way up to a 3000 series as of current. So if you have an NVIDIA chip in your computer, you're able to use the software for yourself. However, if you do not, unfortunately, it is not capable yet of integrating with everything else. But I'm sure you can find something else that's pretty much the same, but I know it's right. But Sean, before we do start though, I have this one thing I was looking at. I was not a meme, but you know how it is COVID right now, and how, well, not COVID right now, but post COVID, how we're kind of. Is it post COVID? I mean, we're still.
I don't know, man. This Delta variant, man, is making me think we're we're somewhere in the in between stages. But I guess, for a lack of a better term, we can say we're in a post COVID world.
We're still currently in it, sort of. Like it's a good in between kind of phrase, right? But a lot of this on the Twitter land actually, and I just pulled one of the sources out. But on your screen for everybody to see, this is from Chris Evans. Laugh my ass off. Y'all really will do anything except for pay people more money, and it's Fox News. This is from New Jersey, from Clark, New Jersey, which is actually like 20-30 minutes away from here. Applebee's is offering interviewees free appetizers if you were to go ahead and interview, and actually so much so. I had an experience actually, Sean. I was applying for some places, and right underneath on LinkedIn, not on LinkedIn, but like on pretty much on anywhere, there are like sign-in bonuses for kitchens.
Sure.
For managers like 1,000, 2,000. I think at one
Mm-hmm.
point I saw like 2,500 just to sign up as a sign-up bonus. It's just like, what is going on? Before we do go into it, the main thing for today is culinary school, waste or no, depends on what we do. But Sean, how do you feel about design? How do you feel about the industry as a whole right now? Before we go into the details right now.
Um, yeah, I have a lot of thoughts about the industry as a whole. I think obviously with the world, kind of being turned upside down by COVID, it's
Mm-hmm.
provided a big opportunity for the hospitality industry to kind of to shift and really
Yeah.
think about what it's going to take to get one people to work in continue to work in that space, and
Mm-hmm.
also for people to spend money in that space as well. You know, at least in the United States, you got a whole year of people learning to, or some people learning to kind of live without the luxury of, being able to go out to restaurants and bars and,
Mm-hmm.
kind of develop some skills to obviously feed and sustain themselves, you know, in their homes, or, I would just obviously outside of a restaurant. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I don't know. There's a lot that could be done to make the industry a better place to work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think partially you're starting to see that reflected in things like signing bonuses where there weren't those before. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the country's in a slightly different place. There's a
Definitely.
big social call to action for employers to pay more. And if those employers are to pay more, obviously the cost of, or rather, the experience that they're going to provide to their customers is going to be slightly more expensive, and therefore becomes more, on every level, more of a luxury. So
Mm.
as that happens, you gotta kind of think about, like, all right, well, what experience are you providing to everyone to be a part of that system? You
Yep.
know, I mean, I know it was a meme that you brought up, at the beginning of this kind of conversation, but yeah, maybe Applebee's needs to, go the extra mile, and by mile I really mean go the extra inches to,
Yeah.
you know, present some appetizers to people who are potentially going to be working there. You
Yeah.
know, I haven't worked at an Applebee's, but I
I haven't either.
kind of believe I have some insight into how much they would be paying, their entry level cooks,
Mm-hmm.
and the margins would have been slim in the past, and even just taking the opportunity to present someone with like a sampling of the wares, that they would be tasked with producing isn't a step that they were going to be willing to do even a year and a half prior,
Correct.
you know so
I think.
and I believe that idea scales up and down. So like you said, when you were in the marketplace looking for particular positions with your level of experience, now there are signing bonuses where there
Yeah.
wouldn't have been. There's a lot
Correct.
of competition to get people who have experience and are highly skilled and motivated and have some drive, and want to thrive in those spaces. And employers are going to have to pay out, at least as of right now, they're going to have to pay out more to attract that talent. Some of
They
some
really
of
have to.
which left the industry, because in that year, even people like myself had to look elsewhere, to
Yeah.
figure out how to pay bills and provide for their families,
Yeah. No, I
So
often
yeah,
think
yeah,
it
yeah.
too.
I mean, I definitely understand that. Like this year and next year are definitely going to be real opportunities for the hospitality industry to reinvent itself
Hmm.
if it's going to exist going forward, and it will. I still
Definitely
think
will.
like people need to eat, people need to drink, people need to be social, and
Hmm.
the hospitality industry is based upon providing those things at all sorts of different price points. But no business model is guaranteed, and to continue to thrive and grow, you're gonna kind of have to take a look at your resources. Look at the available talent pool, and start to figure
Hmm.
out what kind of products you want to put out in the marketplace at a price point that people are gonna feel comfortable paying for. You
I
know?
mean, it's just a living wage, right? Like literally, if we just pay enough so you can live out. Like I think the median standard is at least 40 grand a year for like any household for you to comfortably live in. Now granted, that's a little low. You want to push that up to like 55, maybe 60 grand, but like at least that, like give a person that bit of sanity instead of making them work like fucking 100 hours. But however, big shout out to Lou. It's COVID
Yeah.
forever.
It's
What's up,
COVID forever,
homie?
Lou. Hey, man. You
And
not
then he
wrong.
did also say the work life balance is shot in this
Yeah.
industry. It really is, as we all know. Before even attempting to go to culinary school, make them aware that you're never there for anything that involves your family. Hey,
Sure. Sure.
that's a
That
true
is a very,
statement right
very,
there,
very,
man.
very true statement. I don't know. Do you want to just roll into the topic from there? Because I think like
Oh no,
Lou's,
we definitely could.
that's yeah, yeah. I mean, he's making a,
We,
a, a significant point there.
so
So we were supposed to be talking about whether or not culinary school is valuable to exist and thrive in this space. And as someone who went to culinary school, I'm definitely kind of up and down on on
yeah,
on on that altogether. One of the most important things that I learned at culinary school is exactly what Lewis just brought
yeah,
up, which was, and it wasn't a part of the curriculum. I was
yeah.
looking at my chef professors, some of which who I still have good relationships and
Mm-hmm.
respected for their work as educators and as restaurateurs or different parts of the hospitality industry. But when I looked at them and understood them as men and women outside of their chef coats, almost to a fault, one thing that they were able to express was like how hard it was to manage a good work life balance,
Yeah,
as and that was as employees of establishments or as the proprietors of those establishments, what it requires to be a success in that space,
mm-hmm.
is a lot of time that's off center with how the rest of the world kind of operates.
No, no, it really is because like
Yeah.
how to define work life balance. That's like it could be your own thing, but like typically what we would say is obviously what I was doing was insane. My work life balance 2 months before this, I was 100 hours a week, literally 100 hours a week. For almost like a month and a half, I was bleeding, Sean. Like I you can even tell me like when we were doing our podcast, I was so shot. I was just
Sure.
tired. I'm not
Yeah,
in my
man.
brain. Like who works you 100 hours and then just kind of takes it. But anyway,
Yeah.
I do have some stats in front of my
Hmm.
face before we do go into the meat and potatoes of it though, Sean. Now, I don't want to trash your school, but I am just gonna put some
Yeah, yeah,
schools
yeah.
out there,
Sure,
right?
yeah, go for it. Again, like I said,
So
I'm of a few different opinions, but yeah,
mhm.
you can go with your stats and then I'll finish up.
so in 2003 is when
Hmm.
I graduated high school. Oh my God! Shout out class of
Oh my
'03.
goodness, we feel so old.
Um,
Oh boy, 2003. Continue, Casey.
Class of '03. Actually, well, I just turned 16. It was my I would be turning 17 that year. I finished 16. I was one of four 16-year-olds that finished that year too. We were youngins back then. We didn't know any better. However, as you know, I did wanted to go to culinary school too. However, at that time, the school that I was looking to, actually, I'm going to pull it up right now, was the Culinary Institute of America. So at that time, and I still remember
CIA.
this,
Mm-hmm.
it was $13,000 a year, 13 grand, 2003, 2003. Sean, can you guess how much it is right now for the Culinary Institute of America per year to go to? And I didn't realize this is like a 4-year school. Like I thought it was
I
just
mean,
like,
I guess if just we're just gonna adjust for inflation, you say
hmm
20 grand a semester.
wow, you're pretty damn close. So I'll pull it up to the screen right now for 2021, 2022 school admission. As you can see right here, the Culinary Institute of America. Currently, uh, obviously, you would want a board and meal because you're gonna be living in that space right now. But the general fee is roughly $20,000 as of right now. Now, that's not if you're I'm in New Jersey. Obviously, I would have to travel over, so that's other expenses, X, Y, Z, et cetera, et cetera. You can. This would probably average 25 grand a year, and this is one of the most popular schools out there. This is one of the
Sure.
most coveted, et cetera. Moving on, I do have a couple more here. For this is Le Cordon Bleu Institute. I couldn't find the actual fee for the North American side. However, the European side, as you can see right here, 29,000 pounds. I think that roughly translates to like 32 grand here a year, which is ridiculous. That's expensive. Okay. And these fees include the application fee, 15 grand, or pounds. I don't know what that converts to. Your own willing knife kit, uniform, etc. They take care of you, but it's a pricey thing. I do have two more here, Sean. This is Johnson and Wales program. If you look up any of the schools for culinary, this is one of the top ones over here too. And right now, I'm not sure. This is the only reference I could find. There's no specific thing for an actual culinary. Like if you're just going there for culinary, this is your fee. But right now, per academic year, is 35 grand for Johnson and Wales. I think this is their updated one. Yeah, 2021, 2022, unless otherwise noted. That's like who has that? Who has that dough? You know what I'm saying? And then finally, one of the most coveted ones. This is the Escoffier School of Culinary Arts in Boulder, Colorado. I think this is more of like it's like the Bergen Community College here
Okay.
in New Jersey, you know, and they have a more decent price of 8 grand a year. Obviously, depending on what city or town or state you're in, that's all different. But it's a high bar. Like that's just to learn how to cook. Sean, knowing those fees though, do you think that they should have just made a not a charter school? What's that school I'm looking for? Like a technical school, but like what's that word? What's that thing I'm looking for? Like brain fart, Sean. But you're going to school for a trade, like a trade school. Oh my god.
Okay.
Do you think it should have been that instead of anything else for culinary? Because it's a
I mean, I feel
specific
like that's a
enough.
it's a that is a question that can be unpacked in a lot of different ways. I mean, fundamentally, you're kind of talking about how higher education works in the United States all around, right? Like
Mm,
we're a capitalist society. You can pay more or less for a lot of different things.
mhm,
In some institutions, you're going to pay for access to a legacy,
I
and, and,
guess.
and,
Yeah, I
and, and
guess.
the standing of that particular institution. In some places, I mean, you can pay for, just access to information. As someone who went to Le Cordon Bleu, and the education kind of falling somewhere in the median between the high end and the low end there, you know, what I can say about my time with the school and ultimately what it prepared me to do, like, I thought the value ended up being fair.
Okay.
But what I would say my major takeaways from that time would be the same of which I would say most people would say about an institution that they spent a lot of time and effort in, which is, yeah, it's about the information that you're imparting,
Correct.
but mostly it's about the opportunity to kind of test yourself against what you thought you might be capable of, and
Mm-hmm.
also to kind of foster relationships with people who are already in the industry and other people around you that are kind of motivated to move in that particular direction at that particular point in their life.
I get
And
it.
because of that, I feel like it was valuable, but also I could say, like, depending on what you're looking to get from the hospitality industry overall, it might not necessarily be the best path for everyone to take.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that is good about the hospitality, well, not the one thing, but one of the things that is good about the hospitality industry is that it provides a lot of on ramps for people. you know
Mm-hmm.
you- in an establishment, and you and I both know, right? You can be working alongside people who are, well, this is their top of the line. Let's close that computer for a second. Their top of the line priority. They're going to be the individuals that are going to be able, like yourself, right, who could see
Mm-hmm.
themselves dedicating hundreds, 100 hours in a week to getting, obviously the health of the business that they're a part of, but also about building those skills. You're
Mm-hmm.
gonna have other people who are doing it part time, other people who are kind of, you know, somewhere in between, and because of that, yeah, I definitely wouldn't say, like, if this was if existing in the hospitality industry wasn't something that you were inclined to do, and make a career of, I would not tell
Mm-hmm.
someone to specifically spend their money on education, in one of those institutions. Because I think that, like, you could still, if you want to apply yourself, you could
Mm-hmm.
probably, and you could, no, you definitely could learn the skills you need to, do your job. What the education can provide is, I would say, like a stepping stone, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it could provide like a stepping stone maybe to some opportunities, for advancement, that might not necessarily be there for someone who doesn't also have that same, level of education. And also the networking, right? Like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
mentioned the CIA, right? Like, if someone were to come in to your establishment, and they had that education, or were a part of that network, I believe that, you might have a slightly different expectation of their skill than maybe someone who didn't. But
I know.
also,
I get
again,
it.
right, like, you'd also have a different expectation of someone else's skill who was in the trade for X amount of years, as opposed to someone else who just came fresh out of any institution, you know?
Mm-hmm. I think it's you're
So
more going for experience, like as if
it
you're going to
depends.
prepare yourself,
It,
kind
it
of.
I
You
think I
know.
think ultimately it depends on, what you're hiring for, and because there could be someone who is educated in management theory, right? that might be more apt for a position than someone who has been like a great line cook for 15 years.
Ah,
Right? Like it's just,
correct,
and
correct. Uh-huh.
conversely, right? Like, look, like I might go for that person with like X years of proficiency at this one skill as opposed to someone where it's all theoretical.
Mm.
So yeah, I wouldn't say that culinary school was a waste of even as someone who's kind of transitioned away from that industry, at this time. I wouldn't say it
Mm.
was a waste, but I would definitely think like, hey, if you really don't see yourself making a career in that space, it might be better to spend your money in on education in a different way, or at least in
Mm.
opportunities in a different way. Yeah,
Lou did just say 35K a year. That's a lot of burritos you have to sell.
that is true.
Um, and also, he would never recommend this industry. A good way to make quick cash if you are serving. But other than that, I wouldn't. That's another issue we'll tackle a different
and
day.
and that's
I
and that's
know.
it too, right? Like I was mentioning, like there's a whole lot of different ways to kind of, get on board and make some money in this particular industry. But I think
Mm-hmm.
as things existed pre COVID, typically the back of the house positions are not paid the best.
I
And
mean, bro, we were.
for a lot of people that are going to go through the culinary school track, like, they're going to be walking into entry level positions with a huge burden from school if they didn't have the resources to pay for it outright, and also be walking into an industry where they're not going to get paid a lot up front. So that's also something to consider all around.
Now, I believe, from what I can remember, the average pay, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, when we started together a while ago, I want to say we would hire average cooks at like 11.50 an hour. I think that was the average back then, and then we slowly moved that up. Now, you'd be surprised to have like a specific kind of skill set in some years. Your starting average now is like around 17, 18, where those rates back then used to be our managerial rates. And it's insane. Just think of this a 7 year difference between then and now. Not even 7 years, even longer, but it's quite a bit, you know. And people really do need to understand too. And unless I don't want to get into management because like it's a different field, but the most common thing after you get out of school, right? Specifically for culinary school, your average rate as of right now is like 14, $15, maybe, if you're decent enough,
And
right? And we're
that'll,
talking.
with the push for minimum wage to move up, obviously that's gonna move up as well.
Mhm. And then this is a good question for Lou. Here's a question for you guys. If you could go back to you 16-year-old self, would you recommend culinary school? I mean, I would. I didn't go to school to culinary school, so
Yeah,
I'm
I would
fine
say
with
at
it.
16 I was not considering this at all. Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
at 16, I thought I would be working. Would rather gearing myself to work in a capacity similar to what I'm doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if I were to hop in the DeLorean and go back to the late '90s, I probably wouldn't specifically tell myself to do that. But
Mm-hmm.
for all of the positive things that have kind of happened in my life around going down that career path for the time that I did, I guess I
Mm-hmm.
would tell myself, yeah, man, you should do that. Like,
Yeah.
you're gonna meet some of the most interesting people you're ever gonna come in contact with. It's gonna
Mm-hmm.
provide an opportunity to, you know, meet your wife and have your kids. It's like none of that stuff doesn't. Well, it doesn't happen in the same way if I don't take that opportunity.
Correct.
But yeah, specifically for the career ambitions, yeah, I probably would not tell myself at 16 to do that.
And here's another one from Lou. Dishwasher should be the highest paid position in a restaurant. For people that do not know, can I just tell you what dishwashers have to go through? As a dishwasher, former dishwasher, both of us here, you would come in the morning, you would set the line, you would clean up, you would preset any fine details pretty much. This is just cleaning, bro. Like you're in the nitty gritty. You're down in there, and then once the produce like orders come in or like any of the orders, you're there to receive it. You're doing that, and during service, you're running plates back into to the line, etc. You're literally handling the most expensive gear in the restaurant, and that's China. And you're for the person that is the least paid, you have the most ridiculous amount of tasks to do in a restaurant. I will always look out for dishwashers no matter what. I mean, even so much so in our restaurant, like how many times did we go back there to the dish and we bump it out ourselves
Sure,
just to
sure,
ease up like a little bit
sure.
on the night shift or in the morning shift. Any extra food, literally go to dish. We would tell staff, give it to dish right off the
Yeah.
bat. I
I mean,
mean, who cares about my other cooks?
definitely of the mindset and understanding that every job everywhere should be paid a livable wage, and treated with respect and dignity. Especially those positions that are as crucial and thankless as that of the average dishwasher in an establishment.
Oh, this is a funny one. Ruined many institutes doing that with you guys.
Hey man,
Yeah.
shout out to Lou.
Shout
You're
out to homie
absolutely
Lou,
right.
man. It's true,
You're absolutely right. But I was always
bro.
willing to roll up those sleeves and get in there and get it done.
But we had to do it because we were the managers. That was our task. That
For
was
sure,
what was.
for sure. And not that necessarily every position that you're going to do is gonna provide you with some humility in real time, but this is definitely some of the humbling and focus tasks that I was handling on a regular basis. Depending on what we had going on in our establishment. So always appreciated everyone who stepped up to, either do it on a consistent basis or, spot up to help out when it needs to get done. But yeah,
Now,
critical part of of any establishment.
question to you: when
Yeah.
you were in school, can you still remember what they told you guys, like before graduating or anything, even before starting the curriculum? Is there some kind of thing that stood out of your brain when they're like, did they ever tell you no? Like that's what I'm
What
trying
do
to
you
get at
mean?
because
Well,
so let me share this with you. So
okay.
if you can remember, Connor and Rachel both went to the same school, right?
Sure.
Obviously different years, whatnot. I still remember this. They mentioned to us, or to me rather, and whoever was listening at the time, that some of their professors would tell them, who do you think is going to get through with this with the culinary program? Raise your hand, and then everybody pretty much raised their hand because they're there for the same reason. And then as soon as everybody participated, the professor would then actually say, "I can bet you right now, over 85% of you guys either would become front of house or quit entirely because of the ridiculous life that you're about to live. You need to understand why the pay is not there when you graduate. You're working 12, 15 hours literally per shift, and you don't have the full capacity yet because you've technically have like the soft skills in school. You're not in the professional line just yet, so you don't know what that stress level is.
Sure.
So I'm wondering, in your schooling, did any of the professors ever mention some kind of something like that? And like,
Yeah. For sure. They did that. I don't know, cliche. Look to your left, look to your right. one of these people is not going to be their thing. And, it bore out to be true over the course of the program. It bore out to be true, in the almost decade or so since, I was in
Mm-hmm.
culinary school. When I just, like I said, think about some of my classmates and colleagues and who's still in the industry, kind of bears out to be true. And also, like I said, the biggest examples it bore out to be true in terms of the faculty, the chef professors there. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it was no secret that they had transitioned from being in those spaces for the same reasons that people leave, which is like, you know the the hours are long, the wear on your body is significant, the time away from your family, if you have one, is significant.
Mm-hmm.
There's all sorts of issues with like work life balance and health and substance
Mm-hmm.
abuse. For some of the younger chef professors, some had just kind of realized they were on the wrong career trajectory. Some of the older ones were just like, look, I got all these years in this industry and I could retire with like, benefits and tenure doing this other thing. And
Yeah.
that always stuck out in my mind, which was, some people are gonna be in it till the end. You know, I kind of knew that there was only gonna be so long that I was gonna be able to commit myself to that end. And things change when you have a family, right? Like, it
Mm-hmm.
speeds up some of the process, slows down some of the process, but it speeds up some of the process. And you know, no shade to anyone else who continues to do it, because there's a lot of reasons to continue to do it, and it's one thing that I commend you for. And some of the things that we talk about when we're not necessarily on this show about how you want to grow and you want to develop and kind of build your own thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that is a rewarding endeavor that I would never dissuade anyone with the passion and commitment for the work to not do. But also, you can't walk into that without with blinders as well, right? You would be
Correct.
up against some of the same challenges that those chef professors who decided to go in a different direction went up as well too, right? Like, the responsibility is you. It's on you. Like,
Yeah.
you're gonna be hoping that you can bring in, build a quality team of people that move with the same intentions and have the same respect for your process and vision when you're in the building and when you're not. And you're gonna be at the mercy of a marketplace that's hopefully healthy and thriving, and not sidelined by a 100-year pandemic that settles in and throws everything asunder.
Yeah.
You're hoping that your vision for food or drink meshes with whatever community that you decide to put your walls up in next to, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you also have to deal with your health and the health of your family and your community as well, and try to balance all of those things. It's not for the faint of heart.
It really
But
isn't.
it certainly couldn't be rewarding for those people who, or those individuals that are truly committed to it and are willing to you know hedge their bets and sacrifice here for a greater return over here. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that that's what people just need to do, just in general. Yeah.
So Lou is saying that out of his class of 47, he has one of three remaining, and he kept in touch with his class. I could. It's a true statement, man. Like quite a bit. You'll hear this over and over again,
Yeah.
and it's not necessarily want to beat a dead horse. And I don't
Sure.
want you. I don't want you to think that culinary is such an intense endeavor. However, you need to understand what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Okay. The pay is not there right away. It really won't be at all for years. And we're talking, bro, we're talking like 10, 15 years. Okay. This is going to take a while because you need to hone your skills. One, two, you need to learn quite a few cuisines and how they kind of work about flavors. More specifically, we're talking about the big three. We're talking Italian, French, American. These are the top three kind of flavors in the United States. So you kind of need to understand how that all plays together, and then you can start branching out in any of the other ones because you have said skills. This will help you. This will benefit you no matter where you go. Like I can cook Italian. I can cook French. I can cook American. That's pretty much your standard. You need to know how to do that. Four, you need to understand the hours, just the physical hours alone, for you to learn. You're standing all day. You're carrying shit. You're wet. There's no such thing as, hey, can I take a 5 minute break? Okay, sure. That's not for here. You barely sit down. When you do eat, you got to take it to the back, not on the line, because it's unacceptable. It's unsanitary. You can't be, just chomping away. I mean, okay, granted, we do chomp away on the line most of the time, but obviously we clean it up. And I think the main thing, though, Sean, I think this is where people get in their heads. You're not gonna be the next fucking Gordon Ramsay. Like you're really not. Okay, you're not gonna be on TV. You're not gonna be the next celebrated chef. That if that's what you're aspiring to be right off the bat, I think you're in it for the wrong reasons. It's a hard grind, and you need to understand that. Lots of sleepless nights, lots of holidays not spent with your family. That's the biggest one for me. When I first started, I think my first full year at the Chinese restaurant I used to work for years ago, I was like, "What do you mean we're off? We're not off Thanksgiving? Like literally, we're open the entire year." I was like, "What do you mean? Everybody else is off." I didn't understand this as an 18-year-old, because everybody society says, you're off Thanksgiving, sometimes Memorial Day, there's things in the calendar that you can spend with your family, like most people do. We don't, because those are busy times in our restaurant. And for years, I don't want to say I kind of shut off from my friends, but I couldn't. I sacrificed those years, like all those times where, oh man, we would love to have you Christmas Eve. Yeah, there's no way. We're gonna make like 30 grand that day. Like I'm gonna be there, 14, 15 hours. I'll see you the next day, maybe, if that. And that's just being me single. Imagine if you have a kid, if you got a mortgage. It's like the regular shit that most people have. That just becomes exponential. Like it's just so much time and effort to put into space. And if you're not in the right mindset, I think that will fuck you up. That's the main thing, Yeah. And then Sean, the kind of not like a thing. How do you feel about speed? I don't mean cocaine.
What?
So when we were kind of learning the menu, if you can remember this, when we both started, when we were groundlings, how did you differentiate speed to technicality? Did you focus more on speed, or did you focus more on execution? What was your frame of mind? I only say this because this is my 20th year, by the way. December 11th is when I first started 20 years ago. But anyway, I think that it has to be more speed. It can't be just, I know how to do this technically, this is how it needs to be sliced. Yes and no. As long as it's consistent enough, I prefer speed more than anything else. How do you feel about that?
I feel like it depends. It depends on the task. But ultimately, what I feel like is, when you're learning to do anything, you need to learn how to do it correctly, and then be provided with the flexibility to find efficiencies that can maintain the quality of whatever you're trying to produce.
Okay.
It's like,
so we're in the same boat.
so perfect example, right? Like if we put a cucumber on a cutting board, right, and I just say like make some slices, right? Like you can, and you just think of like your I don't know, your old school TV cooking segment on the news, right? And some chef, he's just whack, 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 banging the knife on the cutting board and just cutting up. It's like, well, yeah, that guy or gal is, has good knife skills that have been built up over years. It is not just simply banging on the counter to get things done, right? Like if you were to slow down those knife strikes, you're gonna see like a clear cutting motion, right? Like these the pieces of the vegetable are gonna be sliced for the most part, uniformly and evenly. That doesn't just come from nowhere, right? Like there was some practice and some effort and some intentionality that gets you to that point. So I think it's best, provided on, whatever, what the product that you're trying to produce, that you're trying to do it correctly, and then you work on your speed.
Okay.
Like, because I just feel like
That's
people are
I
naturally
get
going
that.
to do that. Like, if they care about what they do, they're gonna find the efficiencies in their process. And once you own that and you can repeat it, then you can teach it to someone else, and it just makes for efficiencies that kind of scale up and down.
It's a hell of a drug. Yes, Lou.
Yes,
I know.
Lou,
I,
speed
I
is
was
a hell
trying.
of
I
a
was
drug.
trying. I was trying to. I was trying to voice my. I was like, I couldn't. I was like, speed. How do you feel about?
Yeah, I was like what? But can I follow up on
Yeah,
something we were
yeah,
talking about a little bit earlier? So, when we were talking about the trade offs of like working in the hospitality industry and some of the sacrifices that people make, like these are not things that are just specific to the hospitality industry. So I've been reading this book. It's called Press Reset. It's by Jason Schreier, and he is
okay.
a reporter for a few different outlets that is specifically covering like the video game industry, and specifically kind of like uses his platform to tell stories about like video game development. And there's a lot of parallels there with the pitfalls of work life balance for software engineers that are looking to kind of start out in the industry. They pay a lot for education. A lot of the people that get into the industry are really passionate. They're kind of willing up front to get paid significantly less, and they're tasked with creating these like mammoth works on tight budgets and with a lot of crunch. And you know as people who like to enjoy the fruits of their labor, play video games, or in the hospitality industry, eat the food and drink the drink, sometimes it can be lost on the consumer, the sacrifices that it takes to kind of create these things and repeat them. So just wanted to kind of pull that as an example. And Lutel said, "Tell him to fix Apex's server." See, this is exactly one of those things, right? Like someone will be tasked with doing that, right? And you want it done now, and someone will be trying to get will try to get cracking on making that happen. But to fix those servers, right, is going to require you know if it were about a work-life balance, maybe you could get that done with more engineers working, a more palatable workload, right? But for the most part, like other businesses, you're gonna try to get it done for with the least labor impact. So it's probably gonna be done with people who are kind of pushed to their limits to get those changes and fixes rolled out as soon as possible. And for a lot of individuals, man, it's those long nights in the office,
Hey.
missing weekends, and especially when it comes down to producing these titles toward the end of their deadlines, a lot of a lot of sacrifice. So I just didn't want to leave things where the idea of sacrificing for a passion career is specific to the hospitality industry. No, this is an issue that society kind of needs to fix in mass. So
Hmm.
people are able to again produce but also have balance to their lives. Despite
It's
working
all,
on axis with the typical 9 to 5 schedule. That's not it's not going to be
yeah.
for everyone. Some obviously some industries just can't work that way, but it still needs to be balanced for people to be able to work safely and enjoy their time away from work.
And one other final statistic is specifically for the in our industry, drugs is
Yeah,
just
man.
abused like crazy. It's second nature.
Substance abuse
It's
is
not that
crazy.
it's not like we want to, but it's more akin to the stupid late nights. When I say late night, like 18 hours, you're doing it day in day out. The stupid pay, and then you need to perform during service when you're getting wrecked. Like you need to have crazy mental stability to be in the kitchen, and all that just kind of leads into substance abuse. So I guess in our final moments, though, Sean, I do want to close with this. Here's what I would say to 16-year-old version of me, right? I would say, Case, are you ready to work 12 to 14 hours, have crappy pay for years on end? Your managers will treat you like shit because you don't know anything. You're not gonna see your parents really or your friends for holidays because those are the days we're gonna work in the restaurant. You can't necessarily call out because people will make you feel bad. Management will make you feel bad because that's just the nature of the business. Um, and then for you to move up, like it's going to take 10 to 15 years, pretty much. You need to learn a lot of cuisines. Do you still want to do it? I think that's how everybody should start that phrase, and then really take it in. And if your end answer is still yes, like I've been doing it 20 years now, or will be 20 years this December. I think you've won it just by working it every year. But it's just going to cost you literally a few arms and some legs, maybe some eyeballs, half of your heart, and hopefully you don't end up being wasted and just it's a tough business. That's all I gotta say. Just just really want it. That's all I really can say to my former self. For anybody that's listening right now, it's just really, 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 really want it. Because if you can't last like a couple of weeks and you have thoughts of why the fuck I'm doing this, I think you should quit.
Look, man, I think you're hilarious. I think introspection is
Medical
something
industry too.
that
Yep.
you should not take for granted. And if you have the opportunity to take some time and think about what you want and what you would like to do, and you have the opportunity to kind of make those moves, then take them. You know,
Hmm.
you only got now. You don't necessarily know what tomorrow is going to bring, but take them. Um, if I were to look back at 16-year-old me, I'm definitely telling Sean in 1998, maybe don't buy those N64 games and sit on just those funds alone and buy some Dogecoin. It's not going to make any sense
Hey,
now, but it'll make some sense later.
got it.
But my question for you, Casey, and this is, I don't know, do you think, right, that 16-year-old you would be willing to listen to 30-something-year-old you?
So here's the thing.
Yeah.
I already have the question. Yes. You know why?
Why?
Because I know myself. I am that person. Like I
Okay.
am one to take advice. I'm not one to. I'm always that person to take it all in first and then kind of make my plan. However, no one fucking said it to me 16 years ago.
Sure.
So I went ahead full steam. I really wanted it. All because my grandmother needed somebody to help her cook, and that was my main drive all these years. And then when I finally came into America, Sean, I mentioned this to you. Late night on Food Network, 8 p.m. every fucking day. Emeril Lagasse live. The man is my hero. I wanted to be him. I really wanted to be that badass dude in the kitchen, cooking up a storm, having a fun time. And then I got the taste of it. It wasn't a fun time. I wasn't cooking up a storm. I was in the back prepping, washing dishes till like 11, 12 o'clock at night. And it's ridiculous. But would your past self take that advice if you were to say it to him?
Yeah, I think so. Because I think back to that point in my life and how receptive I was to people that seemed like they had their shit going on. So I'm thinking back to definitely when I was 16, and not that not going to college was something that was like my parents were not gonna like not let that happen. But I definitely remember having a conversation or this information being imparted to me when I was younger, and remember someone saying like, "Dude, would you like $1 million?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'd like $1 million." And he was like, "Well, I could definitely get you $1 million." And I'm like, "How?" And he was just like, "Go to college." And he was like, "Look, you're gonna be you're gonna have the possibility to make like 30K more a year for the next 30 years of your life if you just do this thing. So do the thing, you know?" And everyone's road to that process is going to be different. I had my my bumps, but eventually you kind of, if you're fortunate enough, you can be provided with the opportunity to kind of find the right fit, as far as education for you. And, hopefully opportunity bears out where, there's the potential to make that extra scratch. So I think, seeing as how that particular bit of advice stood out to me, I think I would have been receptive to someone who looked like me
Okay.
saying, "Hey man, do this." And also I like Back to the Future a lot. So like the idea of me coming back to tell me to do something,
You're like,
I'm
yes.
like,
Oh my God.
"Yes." Where's my hoverboard?
So the final question, Sean.
Yeah.
Culinary school, yay, yay or nay? Yes or no?
I'm going to say maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. I kind of
Okay.
feel like I made my point throughout the
Okay.
show, which is
I got you.
the value of education isn't necessarily always going to just be measured in the information that you get in your classrooms, in your seminars. Some of it is, or yeah, some of it is just going to be in the network that you build. The people that you come in contact with, the opportunity to kind of think in different ways, and prove you're capable of doing something that you otherwise wouldn't have been doing. And I think like when you put all those things together, like those are lessons and experience that can propel you as you try to do new and different things in your life. Like you'll always have in your bag that like, I did
Yeah.
this thing, so I could probably do something else. Like that's I would say like part of what gives me confidence in trying something else out. Is like, man, I didn't even know how to do that, and then I was able to succeed in that space. I took a chance on myself and was able to make something, turn it into some measure of success.
Yeah.
So, I believe that within reason, I could probably do that again. And, some of that, just comes down to being fortunate to have good educational experiences. So I would
Mm.
not want to take that from anyone. So I guess I'm going to go back to your question and say, yay. I'm going to say
Okay.
yay. But we can
Okay.
also just change culinary school to any other kind of education
Correct. It can be.
or
It can be
organized
literally anything
process.
else. It's just. I believe you need to understand what you're getting into. I think that's my
Oh, for
main.
sure.
That's my
For
main.
sure.
That's my main
For
thought of
sure.
this.
Yeah, man. Good
I think they should
mentorship
tell you.
is key. That is
Yeah.
key as well. Like, you want
Mm,
people hopefully, maybe in your space that can, like, provide you with some understanding and some context. Because I mean,
mm,
ultimately you're still gonna have to make your own decisions and you'll have your own
yeah.
opportunities. But being able to bounce ideas off of people, in moving in that same direction is
Mm.
definitely important, especially if they're a bit further ahead in the process than you.
I think for me though, Sean, truthfully, it's still no. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I
Hey,
think.
there's
I think.
the truth is there's no wrong answer to that, right? Like
Correct.
there is
Correct.
no wrong answer.
Definitely. I think for the experience that I lived through in my brain, I'm gonna say no. Even at a 16-year-old me, only because I think it was pure. I think it was pure monetary issue. I just couldn't afford it.
Huh.
One, and then two, I was like, can I just really start and just learn it? So my final answer is no, because I was hungry enough to want to become the top chef or the exec chef. I think that's my final answer. But yeah,
You got to be
so
dedicated to
culinary
your
school,
craft.
it doesn't have to be culinary school. It could be a lawyer, it could be a doctor, could be an engineer, whatever. Replace that there. You just need to be hungry enough. School or not, that's up to you. That's totally whatever you get out of it. But I think it's a per diem base, not just everybody. However, that is how we feel. Nothing too crazy. Hopefully that doesn't get you down. Okay, I don't want people to be just like, oh man,
Yeah, man.
now these sous chefs are telling us fucking. Or you're gonna tell us we're gonna miss all these dates. You can't even request off, FYI.
Look,
we're
man.
we're just
Again,
scared them. If you call out, they'll make you feel bad. Like it's just a hassle altogether. But hopefully you find an employer who cares. That I think that's another thing too.
yeah, and also, you hope that society changes in time to protect the people that are working in these capacities as well. Like, again, there's a lot of things that people take for granted in other fields or trades, that didn't happen without people, leveraging their time and being advocates for people working in those spaces to kind of share in and enjoy. You know,
All right, that's it, people. Be safe. Don't go crazy. Please get vaccinated. The Delta little component here is it's whipping everybody's ass.
yeah, man.
Please, we don't need any
That's
more
it.
deaths.
That's it, man.
But
Get vaxxed. Wear your mask. Be safe.
other than that, Sean, you want to close this out as we
Yeah, 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 yeah. Before I get into the normal the intro, outro, I definitely want to give a big shout out to my folks for
oh
kind of staying with me through the process, right? Like I said, like
okay
everyone's road to education, kind of has some on road, on roads and off roads, and
mm,
they were willing to support me in the ways that they could as I figured out what I wanted to do, and
mm,
continue to support me in that endeavor differently, but in that endeavor too. So, definitely a big, big, big shout out to them, and also
mm.
to my lovely wife for putting up with all those missed holidays, and not divorcing me.
I would know.
Yeah,
She would tell
but
me
we
in my
here, but we
face.
here now. But we here now. We're here now. Yeah. So after that outro, you've been listening to the Chef Salty podcast with Casey and Sean. This podcast can be found on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. You can find video of these episodes streaming and archived on YouTube at Chef Salty Pork. Reach us by email at AskChefSalty@gmail.com. You can reach me directly on Twitter at MetroCardX. Thank you for listening through all of that. Glad you stayed with us this week, and hopefully we hear from you, and you're hearing us again next week.
Yeah. Low-key, Sean's wife used to come into the restaurant and be like, Case, you know what next week is? I need Sean off.
Yeah.
Shout out to me.
And, look, everyone needs a strong advocate in their corner.
I do. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen.
Peace out, Internet.